I'm a mom of two, a wife, a content creator, and I run a successful business. A lot of people ask how I manage it all. The truth is, I don't manage my time, I build systems. Because time management isn't really about doing more, it's about doing less, but making it count. I'm Abby Johnson, and after working with entrepreneurs from $0 in revenue all the way up to over $15 million in revenue, I have found that every successful business owner has at least 4 systems in place. In this video, I'm breaking down those systems so that you can multiply your results instead of multiplying your hours. Now, one thing to understand is working more hours doesn't necessarily mean you are going to be successful or that it's going to work and that you're going to reach your goals. We've definitely have this hustle mentality going on, and yes, it takes hard work, and sometimes you do have to pull long hours. But what I commonly see is people working on the wrong things. Typically, people are focused on perfection, tinkering with every slightest thing. Sometimes they're way too focused only in the delivery area of the business and focusing on their product and service and making sure it's absolutely perfect. But the truth is, you can be successful in a 40-hour or less work week, but you have to make sure that you're working on the right things that are actually going to move the needle and move your business forward. This is what we call leverage. So this is a lot of the times, instead of perfecting and tweaking your logo and checking your email every 5 minutes and making sure you have everything scheduled and perfect. I had a client once who did just that. She spent $30,000 or $40,000 on a new website. She was perfecting everything around her brand, and she knew what she wanted to do. She just wasn't executing on it. She was too focused on the optics. She was using templates from HubSpot for her sales team, but was worried that her website was wrong. Those priorities are not correct. One, if you actually took time to write proper sales copy in your sales emails, that's going to be more leverage. That's going to get you more of a result than focusing on a website that not everyone is going to see. Meanwhile, my most successful clients are the ones who hit the ground running. They are implementing, they are moving, they are doing the action steps that we have talked about. And sometimes they're moving so fast, I even have to catch up with them on our calls and say, oh my gosh, you've gotten so much done, which means that there's a whole slew of new problems to solve. Let's solve them together. But those are the ones that are actually growing, as they are moving fast, making fast decisions. And usually those ones are the ones who are actually working less than her, but they are getting more done in those hours because they are not hesitating, they are taking action, and they have the proper systems in place to support growth. So we all know the term return on investment, right? And this is usually used in marketing. You give $10 in marketing and you make $100 back. That's a 10x return. That's your return on your investment. I want you to think about this with your time. What is the return on your time investment? So an example of this is that I'm sure you've heard before is I order our groceries and get them delivered. So I could go to the store and do our grocery shopping, but that is about an hour and a half of my time that I could be spending somewhere else. So even though I'm not getting paid to do my grocery shopping, I have now gained that time back that I can focus into something that is going to make me a return, is going to make me money in the business. This is also great when you're evaluating spending money in your business. Some people go too far with this, but are you going to sit there tinkering with a spreadsheet, tinkering with a new software, or you could go hire someone on Upwork for $10 an hour to do it for you, and it took you $20 to pay someone else to do this for you. Whereas with that hour, 2 hours of you trying to perfect a spreadsheet, you could be doing something more high worth. So think about that when you're spending money as well, is how is this going to free up your time and what is your time worth? All right, so the first system that you need to have in place that's going to help you save time is a financial system. Most business owners are waiting until at least the 15th of the month to get their prior month statement from their bookkeeper. You're already halfway through the next month and you don't even know where you stand for last month. Then once they do get the numbers, they have to sit there and hem and haw, move budgets around to try to decide what purchases to make. This is why having an easy cash flow system is so important to your business's growth and maintaining that growth pattern. So what we do for a financial system is we use the Profit First cash management system. I have plenty of other videos that do a deep dive on this, but basically the concept is that you have these different bank accounts that essentially are different buckets for your money. And you take your profit first in that you are setting aside for it in these buckets. So let's look at this. You've got an income account. So all of your money goes into this one income account and stays away from your expense account. When the money is all together in one account, it's really hard to see what you can actually spend or what's just new money that is coming in for the week. So when you're ready to allocate this money on a set rhythm that you have chosen, you then put a percentage into a profit account. You then put a set percentage into owner's pay. Then you set aside for taxes. And then the last account that gets allocated to is the operating expense account. Now, there's a lot of benefits to managing your money this way, but when we're talking about time, first of all, this takes 5 minutes to do. So it does not take a lot of time. And then what's great is you see these different buckets and what money you can spend. You see, hey, my salary is covered. That's a relief off your shoulders, right? You aren't wondering if you can pay yourself or pay your mortgage this month. You know your taxes are covered. That's also a weight off your shoulders. You know you're actually profitable. You know you're going to be getting a bonus at the end of the quarter. And then finally, this is what you can spend. And you can have other accounts, sub-accounts off of this, a payroll account, a marketing account, whatever. But now you know what you can actually spend. You're not just waiting for your accountant or bookkeeper to send you a statement. Now you just look in your bank account and see, all right, this is what I've got to invest in the business this week. Can we actually afford that new $5,000 computer or that new piece of equipment or that new hire? Let's look at the bank account and let us see what it's telling us. This financial system is crucial for the profitability and life of your business. All right, the next system you need is your marketing and sales system. Yes, you should have a system for this. This is something that should just be running and has set steps that just keep happening. So a really simple example of this is, let's say you have an ad, right? Someone sees your ad online. Then they have to fill out an online form with their information. Then that goes to a sales guy who then calls them. Then he sends them a quote for their work, and then they accept the quote and you make money. This is really simplified here, but sometimes people don't even have this simply worked out. So you need to have a flow of what happens when a lead reaches out to you and also how you even get that lead in the first place. Some people are all referral based, which is great, but that might not be sustainable if you really want to grow your business to certain heights. So for this ad part, you want to have some sort of ad system. So is that an online funnel? Is that just a simple Google ad or Google listing? Whatever it may be, that's where it all starts. And then you need to know what happens from the time they click on that ad or first hear about your business. Once you have this rhythm down, it's just about pulling levers to optimize each step. How do we get more views on the ad? How do we get more forms filled out? How do the sales guys convert more forms into quotes? How do quotes become dollars? It's all about optimizing each of these steps of the process. And then, of course, these steps need to be other people in the business that aren't you. If you're still the sales guy that all of the forms are coming to and you're reaching out to every lead yourself, of course you're going to have to work endlessly. This needs to be a system that doesn't depend on you. You need to hire the right people to put in the positions while also having the right automations and software and such in place for this marketing and sales system. I want to pause for a second. If you're serious about managing your time like the most successful entrepreneurs out there, my team has freed up their time on their calendars to take more profit assessments this month. During these profit assessments, we not only talk about your finances and the profit leaks there, but what are the time leaks? Where are you overspending your time? And how can you get 10 plus hours back in a week? This call is completely free, but spots are limited, so click the link below to secure your spot today. Next is a delivery system. So it's that same concept as the marketing system, but what happens to actually deliver your product or service? Okay, so again, a super simplified example of a delivery system is someone pays you money, and then the first step is to get them on a Zoom call for onboarding. This is where they meet their bookkeeper, they get QuickBooks access to the bookkeeper. The bookkeeper can ask any questions that are needed, how their business is set up, etc. And then maybe the bookkeeper does some initial bookkeeping cleanup work. Then they have another call to go over findings and what happened and what fixes happened and where the person stands. And then they're put into a project management software and set up for recurring services, reconciliations every month, journal entries every quarter, etc., etc. Now, there's way more steps in there, I'm sure, especially for the recurring delivery process, but this is an example of an onboarding process in the delivery area of your business. And once you map this out, it's so much easier to just have a smooth process that happens every time instead of, okay, we've got a new client, maybe you can deliver to them and just go get started, right? Like there are set steps that happen now. And again, if you want to be building the business out of the day-to-day, you need to not be involved in these steps unless that is what you love and you want to be doing the bookkeeping or the pressure washing or whatever it may be. But if you want out of the day-to-day, you need a process with people and softwares that don't involve you. Okay, and then finally, you need some sort of management system. This usually looks like having key metrics and KPIs that are assigned to each employee so you can see what's going on in every area of the business. Now you know who needs help, what's working, what's not working, and you can manage from a zoomed out vision. Instead of being down in the trenches day to day, you can be up in the helicopter and look down and say, hey, help is needed over there. What's going on over here? Hey, that's great. This area is doing well. Let's keep doing that and let's reward them even more. Whatever it is, you are now up in that management role looking at the different metrics. This also means some sort of meeting cadence, some sort of regular meetings. Yes, I know people hate meetings, but there is a way to have effective meetings that aren't eating up your time and are really used for coordination purposes. So it was a really interesting shift for me when I moved from being an employee to being an owner or founder in that role. When I was an employee, I did the same thing every day. I would maybe have a little checklist of to-dos, but it was pretty easy to stay on top of what I needed to because my view was pretty pigeonholed in the business I was in. It was in one area. That's all I had to really worry about. Once I became more of the founder, starting the business with my dad, my mind was on everything: marketing, sales, delivery, management, growth, R&D for our delivery. Like there was just so much going on and I was dropping things everywhere I went. I was forgetting to do things. So for me, the system that works is having something like Asana. I love Asana. Not everyone loves a project management tool, but for me, that is my brain now. And I just put everything I need to do in one place and I can sit down for the day and know these are the things I need to get done for the day. So that's an example of my own personal system that I use to manage my day-to-day tasks and make sure that I'm not spending time just sitting there thinking, what do I have to do? What do I need to stay on top of? It's all right there in Asana. And my own personal policy is that when something is asked of me, like one of my team members needs something from me or I need to contribute to a project, it goes in Asana right away. A lack of having these systems in place is a huge reason why delegation usually fails. Usually a task is just dumped onto a person and there's no clear path or system of how to achieve the end result required of that task. This ends up with them coming to you constantly, asking questions, maybe asking the same questions again because maybe you're giving different answers each time. So as the leader, you have to have set systems in every area so that you can properly delegate and get it off your plate. In order to properly delegate, it's really a simple 3-step process. First, you need to properly document the task and the outcome associated to that task. Then you train the person thoroughly. This means having them watch you do the task, then you watch them do the task, then they can go do it on their own. And thirdly, you have accountability for the tasks and the role by having proper metrics in place to make sure that things are being done to the standard required of the business. A real simple example of this is sales. So you have a new salesperson and maybe they already know how to sell. Everyone can always use more training in that, but they need to learn your process, your product or service, your marketing and sales system that we mapped out earlier. Then once they're actually on the phone selling, you can be looking at, okay, how many dials lead to a call? How many calls lead to a proposal? How many proposals lead to a close? And you look at those percentages and you can see if they are up to your expectations for the business. Those metrics can vary per business. You need to know what your standard is, maybe even the percentages you were getting when you were in the role. But then you need to look, okay, they're only getting 10% booked calls from their dials. That's normal. That's good. We want to see that. Okay, but only 10% of their proposals are being accepted and actually buying. That's a red flag. We want to see that at 30, 40, 50%. Okay, we need to work with them on that step of the sales process. So instead of wasting your time training them over and over and over, you can see what are the actual spots that they need help with. Where do you need to focus your time with them? So this was something that my dad was actually really good at. For example, at one of his other companies, they needed a new way of bringing in leads. The old routine of marketing was not working anymore. The economy had changed. This was like 2008 era. So he had this idea, and this was obviously before the internet is what it is now, but he had an idea of going on the road and doing seminars in person around the country. He was on the road for, I don't know the exact amount of days, maybe like 200 days out of the year, that first year, but he was nailing down the process and system. He did the seminars. He knew exactly what to do if someone was being disruptive in the seminar. He knew exactly where to go, what cities to go, what topics to do. He figured out the exact step-by-step system. So he did do it for a year. It took a while to nail this process down. He had people on the road with him that he was mentoring and teaching along the way. And then he stepped back and he was able to do a different project in the business that led to even more growth. And that marketing system is still in place today, 15, almost 20 years later, because he spent the time to actually systematize it. It wasn't just, let's go try this seminar, let's go to try it in a city, and it didn't work the first time, so now we're done. No, he figured out the system that actually worked and then was able to fully delegate that and hand it over to someone else so the company could keep reaping the benefit of his research, so to speak, but now he wasn't tied to the task. He was able to go do other seminars, public-facing gigs, things to get the business's name out there in a different way and expand even further. All right, if you really want to get your time back, you can start tomorrow. This doesn't need to be a year-long process to systematize something, right? So the first thing you can do is just start tracking your tasks and where your time is going currently. You can do this through softwares. I've done this through a software called Toggle before. You can also just do this manually. This doesn't have to be a task that takes up more time to track your time. Just get a piece of paper, have it by you during the week, and just write down what is going on throughout your week. I did a sales call, I had a marketing meeting, I had to do bookkeeping, etc., etc. Write down what you're doing and for how long. Then you're able to identify the highest value tasks. So marketing strategy, future planning, financial meeting, those sorts of things are going to be higher value than doing your own bookkeeping or posting your own social media posts or newsletters or whatever that may be. So with those lower value tasks, there are ways that you can either automate that task or at least create a repeatable system for when you go to do it. Just like the example of a financial system, instead of going and it's like, oh, it's time to pay bills, how much money do we have, and payroll's gonna run on this day, I think I can afford this. No, if you have a financial system in place and you know every Friday I sit down, I do my transfers, and I look and I pay bills and approve purchases on that day, that can be a workable system that takes less time than trying to search for numbers in 500 different places and make a decision from there. And ultimately, the goal will be to get those $10 tasks off your plate so that you can be working on the $1,000 tasks. This doesn't mean you're spending more time in the business. This just means the time you are spending is worth more. So here's the truth. Successful entrepreneurs aren't successful just because they work harder. They're successful because they focus their time on the tasks that are going to generate the most revenue for their business. If you're ready to build those systems for your business, book a call with my team at the link below. We'll help design a plan for you that helps you work less but grow faster. And if you want to keep learning here on YouTube, check out my video on delegation that does an even deeper dive than what we talked about today. I'll see you in the next video.